Welcome tonight to the Our Revolution Ohio Candidates Virtual Town Hall. I would like to say thank you to all the wonderful candidates that we have here tonight, and thank you for joining us. And those of you who are on the call on our Zoom, we ask you to drop your name in the chat, tell us where you're from, and we're going to have 13 candidates are scheduled for this evening, and we're looking forward to hearing from them. It's going to be a jam-packed evening, and so we'd like to see, where you're from. And I'm going to pass it off to Carl. You want to say something, Carl, and welcome people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Again, if you missed the intro, definitely go ahead and drop your name and your location in the chat. It's great to see where we have folks in from across the state. It looks like we have Lisa in from Cleveland Heights, and we have a few other folks in from, we have even Aaron in from DC, so it's great to see everyone in from around the country. But yeah, definitely go ahead and keep dropping that in. Helps to everyone understand who's here and, see how everyone cares. Awesome. It looks like we have Tristan joining us from Lakewood. It looks like we also have Ray joining us out of Columbus. That's good to see. And I will pass it back to Diane.
Okay. Thank you, Carl. And so my name is Diane Morgan. I'm the state coordinator here in Ohio, and I live in Cleveland. I didn't put my name in the chat, so I figured I'd let you know. And we've got more people joining us. There's Barry Walbridge, Renae from Garfield Heights, and Michael Hardy is here with us as well. He's one of our candidates. Please drop your name in the chat and let us know where you're from. And like I said earlier, we've got a jam-packed evening. And now let me just say before I pass it back to Carl, one of the reasons that we are hosting this at 8:30 is because the candidates that we've endorsed work hard. And one of the things that they do is they get out there and they knock on doors and they talk to voters and they have meet and greets. And so we decided to host this at 8:30 tonight to give them a chance to get done with their canvassing. And it was a gorgeous evening here in Cleveland. So I don't know what it's like for Daniel in Toledo, and not quite sure how Garfield Heights and Cleveland Heights were, but in Cleveland it was gorgeous. So Carl, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Diane. And I guess I'll introduce myself as well. So my name is Carl Kelleman. I am part of the party committee for the Summit County Democratic Party, actually. And I was the former president of College Democrats at the University of Akron. So definitely love to be plugged into everything that's going on around the state. And it looks like we have some more folks joining us from across the state. We have Burton in from Seven Hills. We have Janae in from Cleveland. We have Joe joining us in also from Cleveland. It looks like Joe and John. And a quick update from Daniel. It's absolutely gorgeous in Toledo, so that's good to hear. Yeah, we have Kerry McCormack joining us from Cleveland, and he's also one of our candidates, as well as Daniel Ortiz. So yeah, definitely super excited to see everyone joining us. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and drop them in the chat as we're going. We just have Justin Bibb hopping in from Cleveland, so that's good to see. And again, as Diane mentioned, we were doing this webinar later just in the day, just so that all of our candidates who are out there working hard and our volunteers would have the opportunity to join this as well. All right, it looks like we have Matt Martin joining us from Akron. We have Aisia Jones joining us from Cleveland. We have Daniel Graves joining us from Cleveland as well. I believe all of those are candidates aside from Matt. And yeah, I'll pass that back to Diane.
Yeah, and thank you, Carl. And before we introduce any more of the people that are call out more of the people that are here, I'd like to say thank you to our statewide team here. So for instance, Carl's in Shaker Heights, Matt's in Akron, Kathleen, who's here with us tonight, is in Dayton. She's our comms coordinator and director, and she helps actually work with the candidates. Like, they send her all their public information, and she helps get it out. So anytime there's an event that they want people to attend and it's public, it's like, let's help amplify that. And so she's been that point person. And so thank you. I know it's a lot of work, Kathleen. We do appreciate that. The other thing is we have a special guest with us tonight, Mary Huck, who is our top phone banker. Mary is just amazing. And she's going to be talking to us a little bit about phone banking and what it means to her, and and just how it makes her feel, and the work that she's doing, and how she feels how important it is. And we've got Nate here tonight. Nate is outside of Akron. I forget the town. And so he's here, and Gail Cox from Cleveland. I met Gail the other day at the rally for the Justice for All rally. Thanks, Gail, for being here. Gail, by the way, I have a little side note here, was phenomenal when it came to rallying people. She just, got those chants going. And so I really appreciate all that she did on Saturday. It was wonderful. So thanks, Gail. And so Carl, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Fantastic. Yeah, so it looks like we have a couple other folks joining us as well. And then we'll give it like 1 or 2 more minutes for folks to join us, and then we'll hop right into the actual presentation. So definitely thank you everyone for joining us. Really, it's because of you that we can make this possible. So thank you so much for everyone who's managed to join us. And special shout out, I guess I should probably say, to Mary Huck, who is seriously one of our top phone bankers. Like, if you're one of our endorsed candidates, some constituents of yours have probably gotten a call from Mary Huck. So she's really out there making a difference. Yeah, and it looks like we'll start rolling into the presentation. So Diane, did you want to start with the opening intro?
I absolutely would love to. So thank you very much. We're going to get going here. But what we'd like to do before we get started is to just take a moment. We're going to take about 30 seconds and just a moment of silence to reflect on the lives that have been lost in Afghanistan, the need for peace there and across the world, and plus for our brothers and sisters who are suffering as a result of Hurricane Ida. So if you'll just take 30 seconds with me and just reflect, I appreciate that. Thank you. So I want to tell you a little bit about what happened this weekend. On Saturday, we had 24 groups from across Ohio sponsor Justice for All rallies. And let's see, Matt, can you show that slide? There were Justice for All rallies in 4 different cities, and the event highlighted the need to protect and enhance our voting rights. Now, the event was in Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, and Cleveland, and it was great. We had 150 people come together just in Columbus alone. The next event that we're going to be co-sponsoring is the State House Stomp on September 22nd. There's going to be a rally at the State House. Training is going to be available courtesy of UUJO. And you will be able to meet with state legislators if you would like, but you have to be trained for that. And we'll be dropping a link for that. I don't know if Kathleen's got that, where you can sign up and get more information, or you can go to ourrevolutionohio.com for more information. And Carl, back to you.
Yeah, hey everyone. So I did introduce myself before, but just to reintroduce myself, my name is Carl Kellerman. I am currently a member of the Summit County Democratic Party Precinct Committee, excuse me, as well as a member of the Central Committee of Our Revolution Ohio. So one thing that I think is really important to highlight is basically our plans and how we actually like create and build power around the state. So we have a 5-point plan to how we do that. We organize progressive powerhouses. That is our candidates, that's our activists, that's our volunteers. We make sure we hold politicians accountable. There's great images of our revolution, South Carolina, in making sure that we're holding our elected officials accountable. There's great images of our own Ohio candidates being held accountable as well. Our endorsement means more than just an endorsement. We elect progressive champions. So that is our candidates that are here tonight. You will hear from a lot of them. And we do have others in office that we definitely support and endorse. We fight for progressive policies and build a progressive party. That's part of the work that I'm doing currently as part of the Summit County Democratic Party is, all organizing starts locally, and it's very important to organize locally and build that power structure within and outside the party. So yeah, like I mentioned, we're really hard at work here in Ohio through all of the different actions that we take. We're organizing locally. We're working hard to elect progressives, and we're really working hard to transform the party and push the party and voters forward on issues from local to the state level. And honestly, we couldn't do this without all the support we get. Just the volunteers we get in general is amazing. But if you do have the ability, we are also asking folks to join our revolution as a member. We're doing a membership drive, which is just $5 a month, or you could obviously make a donation in any amount. And we really appreciate the support. It really helps host webinars like this. It helps us with our phone banking. It helps us with everything. So not to take any time away from the candidates, I'm going to pass it back to Diane.
Thanks so much, Carl. You'll see that in the slides here that we are asking you to help elect our candidates. We have phone banking available for our September 14th candidates tomorrow night and next Wednesday as well, 6:30 to 8:30. And there's a canvas organized in Cleveland Heights. You'll see the dates there, the 2nd, 9th, and 12th. And then we have been asked to co-sponsor with Rebecca Maurer and other progressive groups to canvas for her. But the candidates will also have their events, and they can invite you to them. And we're going to get going so you can meet them. So I'd like to introduce our first candidate, and that is Councilman Tristan Rader. And I've known Tristan since Bernie 2016. He is one of our very first members of our revolution in Ohio. We are celebrating our 5th anniversary, and Tristan was, part of the group that I was involved with that became an affiliate of our revolution. And he was one of our first endorsed candidates in Ohio in 2017 and won election. And he's running for re-election again. So welcome, Tristan. I can't believe it's 5 years ago that we got involved with our revolution, and here we are.
Yeah, and what a 5 years it's been. Actually, I think I met you and Eric and a lot of people through the protests around the murder of Tamir Rice. That was where we first met. And I remember being very, very angry about how our society wasn't taking care of a lot of the issues that were really systemic. And, then Bernie Sanders ran, and I think a lot of us found a place to put our energy. 14 million of us, in fact, voted for Sanders back then. And then when he lost the primary, we transitioned that energy 5 years ago into this, our revolution. And, I think one of the reasons you've asked me here, and one of the reasons that I'm passionate about this organization is, I'm living proof that you can actually be the change you want to see in the world, right? You can actually be an activist, somebody who's a social worker, right? And just doing my thing in Cleveland and other places for the Cleveland Food Bank. And I wanted to do more. I want to get involved with healthcare justice and trying to stop the Cleveland Clinic from taking our hospital away on the east side. I wanted to stop this bad Q deal, right? And this public money being sifted out from our public institutions into private billionaires' hands, right? So I had to do more, and I ran for office with the backing of our revolution. A bunch of us did, right, Diane? I mean, there were a handful of us that went to it, really put our nose to the grind and did it in 2017. And we're running again now in 2021. It's crazy it's been this long, but I just want to really encourage folks that it is possible. And it's only possible if everyone on this call does something, right? And everybody needs to pitch in. That's what happened back in 2017. This is on the candidates as much as it is the people that are watching tonight. And I know many of you are working. I see Daniel, you're working your butt off. Michael, Hardy, I'm hearing about you all over the west side. So I know you must be kicking ass there on the east side, right? So there's people on this call who will absolutely, who are in public office and will stay in public office and who will absolutely win. Start working on their campaigns, learn what they're doing, everyone else, so that you can be the change the next time around. So, I don't have much more to say beyond that. Make sure you, if you're around, click on the links, join the phone banks, join the canvases. There's some amazing candidates on here tonight. Support them. And then run yourself when the time's right.
Tristan, can you, Carl, hold on a second if you don't mind. Can you drop your website in the chat?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay, thank you. TristanRader.com. Okay, go ahead, Carl.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tristan. It's always great to hear from you. It's definitely a pleasure to meet you as well. So our next speaker is actually current Cleveland City Councilman Kerry McCormack. Welcome, Kerry. Thank you so much for joining us. And, part of our mission at our revolution is to also hold our candidates and our public institutions accountable. And on that note, Kerry, I believe there's been a recent victory in Cleveland, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about that and then a little bit more about your candidacy.
Thank you guys so much for having me tonight. And Diane and everyone, thank you for organizing this and for everyone on the call today. And if I could just also give a special shout out to one of my constituents, Justin Bibb, who's on the call tonight too, who's running for mayor of the city of Cleveland. I just want a quick point of personal privilege. My husband and I hosted many volunteers during the special congressional election in District 11. And for anyone on this call or anyone that knew anybody that pitched into that, thank you. Our backyard was actually a staging site for her campaign. And I know a lot of sweat and blood and tears went into that, and it did not turn out the way we wanted it to. But thank you for everyone who pitched in. And also I got to tell you, it was so energizing to see the energy and passion behind that campaign. So just wanted to say thank you to that. We just passed public comment in city council about 100 years too late. But really, honestly, that's really important. But this is just the beginning of what we need to transform city council to be a much more transparent body, whether it is participatory budgeting, public comment, whether it is really engaging in the community. We need to, quite frankly, to steal a term, revolutionize the way that we do business on council. I'm really excited. There's a young crop of folks that are either in office or running for office. And I'm really excited to see that. So we have to bring tremendous transparency to council, and we have to do a whole lot more, whether it be continuing to advance fighting lead paint poisoning in children, housing equity and affordable housing in our community. You name it. There's so much work to do that we've got to continue to advance. I've been proud to one of my first votes was to bring full protections to our trans community. I've really been excited to work on issues that affect women and children in our community and families, as well as housing justice and equity. So we are trying to move source of income protections and pay to stay right now through council. That is active. We need your help to do that. So as I said in my endorsement questionnaire, this is not just about me asking for your endorsement. I'm looking for a true partnership over the years to advance progressive policy. So I thank you so much for your support. And again, I want to shout at everyone who joined my husband and I in Ohio City for our work on Nina's campaign. So love you all. Thank you so much for the good work that you're doing. And again, this is not just about tonight. This is not just about this endorsement. We need to partner for years to come to advance progressive policy in Cleveland, throughout the state of Ohio and beyond. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kerry. So for folks who are joining us over Zoom and not over phone, the slides will be a little out of order. Unfortunately, one of our guests, Kahlil Seren, is not here at the moment. So we're going to roll into our next candidate. So our next candidate joining us is actually one that I am very excited to have here, Justin Bibb, who is running for mayor of Cleveland. Justin is a political outsider. He's really shaking it up. Like, the establishment honestly did not see this one coming, and I don't think most of us did either. Seriously, Justin has been doing work to inspire activists and community organizers from across Cleveland, and honestly even into the suburbs. And it's really showing. Like, you drive through Cleveland and there's Bibb signs everywhere, which love the exclamation point, by the way. But yeah, he really, being a political outsider, he's still worked really hard to earn the support of Clevelanders, who honestly, they've just lost hope in attaining equality and finding a way out of poverty in a rigged system. And so, with that, we'd like to welcome Justin, and definitely would love to hear a little bit about your plans on how you plan to get folks back into the fold who might be feeling a little outside of it.
Yeah, well, thanks for that awesome introduction, Carl. I might have to borrow you on the campaign trail in the final 13 days of the campaign. And thank you, Diane, for all the work you are doing to organize folks all across this county to bring real progressive change to our city and our region. And given all the major issues that we see in our city right now, we need it now more than ever. And I got to tell you, as we approach the election, I'm getting even more inspired every single day by the energy I'm seeing on the ground for our movement to change Cleveland. We had an event tonight with nearly 100 people in Ward 15, which speaks to the groundswell of our campaign. And I think pretty soon here, you're going to see the attacks come, because the status quo and the current political class is scared about this movement we're building to truly remake our city and bring some real dynamic, visionary leadership to City Hall to really tackle these problems. And I don't have to tell you guys all the issues that are at stake in this election. You think about really advancing climate justice and environmental justice in our city. We need real and bold, dynamic, progressive leadership to turn around Cleveland Public Power, to really modernize that asset, to bring good green jobs to our residents and our community. We got to get real about police reform and police accountability. I believe you can have thoughtful policing to ensure every community is safe and secure, but we got to do the hard work of ensuring that we have real justice and accountability in our police department. And thirdly, jobs, jobs, jobs. It's a shame that this mayor has been slow to act to come up with a real strong plan on how we intend to spend the $512 million we get for President Biden. And every cent of that money should be spent on thinking about how we put people and neighborhoods first. That starts with eradicating the digital divide. It starts with endorsing Kerry McCormick's recommendation to make sure we can finally use that money to eradicate the lead paint crisis, because as Ivanka Hall has said, our lead paint crisis is truly public enemy number one. And as mayor, I want to make sure that we can truly bring participatory budgeting into everything that we do inside City Hall to give the people a voice in terms of how we spend City Hall resources. So I'm excited about the movement we're building in this campaign. As I said before, we got 14 days into the election. So we're going to need your help to call voters, text voters, knock on doors. I think we're hosting about 3 to 4 canvases per week, East Side and West Side. And we have been running a citywide campaign since we announced this effort on January 12th. We've knocked on over 20,000 doors thus far. And I'm happy to report that today we made history in this campaign. We have received over 2,000 individual donations from individual donors all across the city that are investing in our movement to change Cleveland, the most for any person that's ever run for mayor in Cleveland history. And a majority of our donors are coming from residents that live in the city of Cleveland. So as I tell my team, this is the David versus Goliath election, and the people power is going to be our secret sauce to win this thing. And I'm counting on all of you all to help us build this movement, make the case in the final days, and to ensure we can get a big W come election day.
Thank you so much, Justin. And so were those $27, the donations?
Yeah, 27, 10, 5, the whole gamut. So.
Great. Well, and everybody, please, check out ourrevolutionohio.com. We have links on there for all the candidates, especially for those of you who are calling in and can't necessarily see the chat or us on Zoom. So ourrevolutionohio.com, and you can go to their website and volunteer. Like he said, we've got 14 days left. And so our next guest after Justin, Shayla Davis, is not going to be here. She's not feeling well. She's a little under the weather. And so I'm hoping that's all it is. So I told her to rest. And but what I want to do before we move on is remind you that our endorsement committee works really hard when we look at candidates. We research, we interview candidates, and we are very thorough in those that we endorse and support, mostly because, we're looking at transformation, but also, we are the ones that are on the ground doing the work. We want to make sure that we're working to make that transformative change in those progressive policies across Ohio. But we can't do this alone, and we can't do this without funding. So if you can support our work for $5 a month to become a movement builder with our revolution, and that $5 will go really far to help support our work. And I think Kathleen is going to drop that link in the chat, and I'm looking to see if Kahlil is here with us yet. and it doesn't look like he's out of that forum he was attending. So we'll have him when, we'll introduce him when he arrives. So I'm going to move on then to our next speaker, and she's very special to me. She's a good friend, and we've been sharing an awful lot of different things outside of politics, which makes for good friendship. So we met in the summer of 2019, and she stepped out of her comfort zone and opened her home to host a Bernie meeting, and that is Mary Huck. And Mary is one of our top phone bankers. And when we were talking about phone banking for the candidates and having this forum, I thought, why not have Mary come and share, what it is that drives her and how she, what it is she does, because she just works magic when she talks to people on the phone. So with that, Mary, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Diane, and thanks for having me. Phone banking is a good way to talk to people. The moment we meet someone on the phone in their own space determines the direction of the call. When I first hear a voter's voice, I assess their mood, tension, and their tolerance. It's better to offer to call them back if they sound cranky or hurried. An algorithm will pop into my brain based on their age with questions or ideas that instantly engage them and recruit them to do phone banking themselves. For example, a young person has a long-term stake in the environment, in education, student loan forgiveness, community centers, and fair law enforcement. The middle-agers worry about jobs, the infrastructure, the health, and education of their children. Seniors are focused on their own health and Medicare. I reach a great number of voters and directly send them information on candidates and issues and voting options and schedules. In answering their questions and concerns, I get to know them and sometimes hear their life stories. And I want to add that sometimes they haven't made up their mind at the last minute until the media tells them what to do, or nor have they made a voting plan. So I answer their doubts convincingly. For example, in Nina's phone banks, I had to counter doubts by telling voters that she had relinquished her support of charter schools 12 years ago and had the endorsement of the Northeast Ohio Teachers Association. Personally, I love that I'm speaking to voters outside of the context of buying and selling commodities or ownership or status of any kind. I love being able to offer a teaspoon of power to say what they need, because that is what gives them hope. What keeps me going are the voters transformed by that teaspoon of power into purposeful believers that their vote really matters. So phone banking for me has been personal, individual, and a good volunteer recruitment tool, informative and efficient and persuasive. But most of all, it's been a lot of fun. So come and help. I'm putting a link in the chat.
Amazing. Thank you for all you do, Mary. It really helps to keep the rest of us inspired to keep going and, keep phone banking, keep at it, because seriously, your dedication to it is just impressive beyond belief. So with that, definitely please join us for our next phone banks that are coming up. Both tomorrow we have a phone bank, as well as on September 8th we have a phone bank. The mobilized link will be in the chat. And again, if you have any questions on how to get involved or you're calling in, please check out our website, ourrevolutionohio.com. And with that, so next I would like to introduce Deborah Gray. She's running for Cleveland City Council in Ward 4. She's a community activist who honestly already spends so much of her time helping her residents. It's insane. So yeah, it's definitely good that we would give her that push to get actually on council. So with that, I would like to welcome Deborah.
Thank you, Carl. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. I am Deborah Gray. As a precinct committee woman, I cut through the red tape of government to get results for our people. Once elected, I plan to go down to City Hall and eliminate that red tape. I'm running because civic participation is vital to our democracy. For too long, For too long, voices in my community have been silenced. This starts with me. I will show the people they have the power. In addition to public comment, I support budgeting by the people citywide, but I won't wait for City Hall. Once elected, Ward 4 residents will decide how money is spent. There are a lot of candidates, but I am the most progressive candidate and have proven results. My all-volunteer campaign staff and I been boots on the ground making connections for our movement because our fight is vital. For too long, big money and greed has controlled our politics. I need your support in this fight. Please go to grade4council.com to sign up to volunteer, participate in our revolution phone banks, and if possible, sow into my campaign right now by cash apping $4, $40, even $400. Check for details. I thank you for having me here tonight, and together we will win this fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. And I want to let everybody know that one of the important things about the candidates that we work with is they're not politicians for the most part. They aren't. They are activists. Deborah is an activist. Rebecca, who you're going to meet, activist. Daniel, Aisia, all of them, activists who are involved in their community and with a passion to help the people. So I appreciate what you're doing, Deborah, and for running. And so thank you. And so next up is Daniel Graves. And I met Daniel in 2017 when he ran for city council in Ward 7. And I was impressed with him then. I was bummed he didn't get elected, but I'm even more impressed with him this election. The seat is open and he's working almost every day. He's out there, twice a day working, knocking on doors, talking to voters. And he's been doing this for months and he's having real conversations with them. So Daniel, I'm going to turn it over to you. Welcome.
Thanks, Diane. It is a pleasure and honor to be here with you guys tonight, to be with our revolution that is fighting for progressive change right here in our city. And I just want to say that I'm running for 3 reasons. Number one, because Ward 7, number one for my ward, here in Ward 7, which is the Huff area, St. Clair, Superior, and Asiatown. Number 2, to really be an advocate for issues across Cleveland. Number 3, to help build our progressive movement here in Cleveland, which is part of that 5-point plan that Carl outlined. First, starting with my ward, I'm running to be a bold advocate because, simply put, Ward 7 is seeking to be taken over from institutions on the outside, including the Cleveland Clinic, and I'm not afraid to call that out. Because Ward 7 is centrally located next to downtown, again, the Cleveland Clinic, University Circle, and we're at a crossroads where we can either preserve our community and grow Ward 7 on equitable terms, or just give the location away to outside developers. And I'm running to be a bold advocate. I'm not against development, but to make sure that development is equitable and is working on behalf of my residents in my ward. And number 2, to also be an advocate for issues here in Cleveland, such as making sure that we have a permanent review board, the Citizens for Safe Cleveland, which I do support, along participatory budgeting, and ensuring that we have robust police reform to make sure that policing is improving here in Cleveland. And also number 3, to really help grow our progressive movement here in Cleveland. Because as a quote from Socrates says, we cannot just spend all of our energy on fighting the old, but on building the new. So many times of us as progressives, we spend so much time fighting the establishment, but not enough time on building a new progressive movement that can be stronger in the establishment. And especially right here in Cleveland, that is crucial because there are institutions, there are companies that have dominated Cleveland politics for decades, and we have to build a progressive movement. That's why I'm excited to be endorsed and to also be a partner with our Revolution Ohio, because you guys are doing the work to help us build that progressive movement right here in Cleveland and also across the state. And it's also glad to be here with other progressive and some of the young candidates running here tonight. So thank you. I'm going to drop my link in the chat if you'd like to get involved in my race for these next 14 days to help us phone bank, knock on some more doors, and help us win and advance the general election. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. And just as a personal privilege, I guess, it's been great to work with Daniel, whether it's, a quick phone call or the volunteering I personally plan to do. So our next guest is actually Aisia Jones. She is a Cleveland City Council candidate in Ward 8. She's been a leader in the Black Lives Matter movement in Cleveland, which for folks who are outside of the area, Black Lives Matter seems to be one of the few groups who can get every single other group in Cleveland out, which if that doesn't speak to the level of activism that goes into this, I don't know what else would. She's also been a fighter for her entire community, and she's lived in that same ward for decades and is fighting for change. So with that, welcome, Aisia.
Thank you so much, Carl. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Our Revolution. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Just want to say thank you for having me this evening. I'm so honored to be on here with all the other candidates and those who are doing their part to change Cleveland. Like mentioned before, my name is Aisia Jones. I'm a Cleveland activist and organizer. I'm running for Cleveland City Council in Ward 8. Ward 8 includes Collinwood, Waterloo, parts of Glenville and St. Clair, as well as East 185th Street and Lakeshore. I'm running for this seat, I'm running for the seat to support and offer community-driven solutions to the many issues that Ward 8 faces every day. Inadequate housing, improper policing, lack of recreation for our youth, transportation, and resources for our local and small businesses, and especially the lack of transparency and accountability within our local government. As a Cleveland native, I've recognized the causative factors of crime, poverty, and homelessness, and have addressed these within my capacity as an activist. I've addressed these by starting the hard conversations and increasing the awareness of each and every issue. One conversation being the things that we need, these things need to be decriminalized. As your future Ward 8 council person, I will continue these efforts by representing the true core of Cleveland, the people. The people of Ward 8 have been represented by the same person for 43 years, really, but more than 43 years. So a vote for me is a vote for a progressive path to fulfill Cleveland's true potential. I ask for your support in the link. You'll find the link to my website where you can donate, the Mobilize link where you can help phone bank, as well as canvas with us, hit these doors, because that is one way, a major way to win an election. I thank you all again for the opportunity to be here. I ask for your support in any way that you can. And I hope you all have a great evening. And I'm so excited to be on this panel tonight.
Thank you so much, Aisia. And it's wonderful having you here. And make sure that you drop your links in the chat for all the candidates. And then let's get out and knock on some doors and make some calls. So our next guest is Michael Hardy for Cleveland City Council, Ward 11. Michael's running for the seat that was recently vacated by Donna Brady. And unfortunately, City Council appointed someone who until recently was from outside the ward. They didn't invite residents for input. They just appointed this person. And so Michael, being a long-term resident, highly involved in his community and activist, like I was saying about most of the candidates we've endorsed, he's looking to be a true representative for the ward. So Michael, welcome.
Hey, wow, thank you for having me. I have to admit, following these speakers, I'm a little bit intimidated. I wish I could have gone first so can build up to everyone else, but yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be before everyone. I'm very excited to be on the as a speaker with such wonderful candidates, and yeah, I'm just in awe just looking at the whole poster, everything. So yes, my name is Michael Hardy, lifelong resident, and just very happy to be invited here, and want to thank Diane and Carl for hosting this and everyone else who's been involved. But yes, I am here to represent Ward 11. And, I see so much that needs to be done, so much. And I know it's not going to get addressed by the current leadership. I know it's just not going to happen. Residents have asked me to run. People have asked me, why did you run, Michael? Or why are you running? And actually, a lot of residents have asked me to run. Actually, they have seen me out here volunteering, doing things for others. And they said, it's time for you to step up, Michael, and do it. And I'm ready to make it happen. And I feel the only way to move our ward forward is to implement the things that are on my agenda. And I think it will not only move our ward forward, but I think it will help the city as well. And that's what I would love to do. I would love to go downtown and form relationships with people who would like to move our city to the future, So this whole thing of business as usual has failed our ward, has failed our city. And I feel that with the way things are being done now, public comment with an option with the ordinance would really open things up and open the city up to so many possibilities. I think we can join some of our peer cities who have thrived, because of public comment. Looking at places like Columbus and Pittsburgh who have public comment. And when the citizens can be involved, I think there's just so much energy, so much positive energy, because they know so much more oftentimes than some of our elected officials, because they're down on the streets in certain corners that maybe some people don't get to visit. Well, they can bring things to light to the officials, and we can make sure that resources will go there and that we give it attention. So I want to connect people to information and resources. I want to help bring this economy into a 21st century economy. We have this digital divide. We can close this digital divide. Over 30% it doesn't have internet access, but we know jobs required from IT, education, billing and coding, financial services, healthcare. If you don't have the internet, it's very hard to function. We can close that gap. Access to fresh foods. Would like to address that because we know health is the wealth of many people. I want to improve the educational choices, actually give people informed educational choices. So many things are available and people don't know they're available within our city. So I want to make all of this accessible to so many people. And I believe that together we can do great things. The people on the panel, I would love to work with them and be a team player with them and sit down and really break bread and share ideas and help move the city forward. And I'm ready to do that. And if you send me down to City Hall, we can make great things happen. And you'll have someone down there who didn't just venue shop their way into a seat like the current person did, or a person who I've never held public office anywhere. I've only dreamed of having something here in my city, of representing my city in such a positive way. And a vote for me will bring us someone who is dedicated to bringing our city into the future. So I want to ask for your vote. I'm going to share my links with you, and I welcome all the support that you can provide me with. And I'm happy to be part of our revolution, and I want to help bring everything to fruition and do great things for the city. So thank you for your support.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. It's fantastic to have you here. And so then moving on to our next guest. Our next guest is Rebecca Maurer, and you're going to have to forgive my pronunciation. I haven't actually had a chance to meet Rebecca in person, but if you've been on Twitter or anywhere else, you know she's running. Rebecca is running for Cleveland City Council in Ward 12. She was pivotal in creating the lead legislation and pushing the city council to take action on lead in homes in Cleveland. So thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. And Carl, you said my name right. I mean, everyone says Maurer, it doesn't bother me, but I actually do say it Maurer. So thank you so much. So I'll keep it short because we've heard some amazing folks and a lot of reasons why you should be coming out and supporting the RREV candidates this cycle. I'm extremely proud of my work making sure that we are protecting Cleveland's children from lead poisoning. Our current lead poisoning rates are 2 times higher than Flint, Michigan. So this is critical work we have to do if we want to make sure that Cleveland can thrive and succeed the way that we want it to. But I'll tell you just that's sort of like why I'm in the race, but I'll give you a real quick pitch from this evening about why you should volunteer for my campaign. And that is that this evening we had a candidate forum, a League of Women Voters candidate forum. And there are four candidates in the race. There's the incumbent who's been there for 16 years. There's myself. There's a young man, Mr. McGee, who hasn't really been engaged in a very strong campaign. And then there's a Republican woman, Miss Taylor, who decided to boycott the League of Women Voters event at the last second because they had a vaccination requirement. And instead she brought out a bunch of Trumpy people with like microphones and American flags and like literal like swastikas, like we don't want to be turned, don't turn us into Nazi Germany. That was their claim about a mask mandate, and protested outside. And Channel 5 bit on the story and interviewed Miss Taylor, rather than coming inside. So the thing is, it's not like this is some like long shot race for her out in Ward 12. There are hundreds of registered Republicans who reliably turn out to the polls. This is a very low turnout election. And so it's not just, even though these are top 2 primaries, we need to make sure that we are actually in the top 2, and that is not a sure thing. We are working very hard to make sure of it, but there is work to be done in terms of knocking doors. There are so many fantastic candidates out here. So I hope that you put in a shift for my campaign, Aisia Jones' campaign, Daniel Graves' campaign. There's a lot of work to be done. So don't want to just bring it all to Ward 12, but spread it around. But there are really good and important reasons to be involved at all levels here in the city of Cleveland. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. And, I think that's a real shame that they would do such a showstopper, right, and get that coverage as opposed to talking about the real issues. And so we appreciate the work that you're doing. And everybody get ready to clone yourselves, because we're going to need you to hit those doors. Yes. And to make those calls. It's just so important. We really can't risk having, someone like that in city council. So, and we need to send you there. So before we move on, I'd like to remind everybody again, if you can join us, become a movement builder. And, for, like I said, for as little as $5 a month, it helps us pay for t-shirts, banners, literature, all the signs and everything that we use, and the dialer. It helps pay for the dialer when we make calls for Through Talk for our candidates, like we're doing tomorrow night. So, if you can help support that, it would be great. And somebody can drop that link in the chat. That would be great. And I think Kahlil is here before we move on to our next candidate. Kahlil, can you unmute yourself here?
Yes, I am here. Thank you.
All right. Well, hold on. Let me introduce you.
All right.
So I'm sure he's ready to speak because he's been at a forum and he just can't wait to talk some more, right? Seren is running for mayor in Cleveland Heights, and he was on our national call just last Monday, and I'm gonna let you talk because we're running out of time here. So go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Diane. And I apologize for being late. I didn't realize how late the Cleveland Heights Democrats Forum was going to be. I'm here and I'm so grateful again to our revolution for providing support, both sort of emotional support for the progressive values that I hold, and sort of that feeling of community in taking those values and turning them into action. That is the work that I intend to do as mayor of Cleveland Heights. That's the work that I've been doing as a council person in Cleveland Heights for the last 6 years. And I want to point out that the work that our revolution does is not only to get those progressive champions elected and get them into a position where they can make decisions, but also to support those decisions once they're in office. And sometimes I'll tell you, politicians need that kind of support. Public servants need that kind of support in order to keep pushing forward and keep helping our community progress, because it's very easy to get stymied by status quo, sort of stagnation and inertia, and not keep pushing for more justice, more equity, because there's always more that we can be doing to serve our communities. And it takes the activists working together with the public servants in elected office to make these changes happen and to make those changes stick. And so, I want to thank our revolution again for providing this platform, for helping this debate continue. And at the local level, because at the local level, this is where a lot of things happen. This is where we really influence our residents' lives. We create policies that are directly impactful in the people's lives that we serve. And not only that, we are the most accessible, but we're also the most overlooked when it comes to levels of government. The national government and state government takes so much energy out of the debate, and local government is sort of left to fend for itself, and often people don't even know elections coming up. So I want to thank our revolution for this energy. I want to thank everybody who's on this call today for your energy and getting out there, knocking on doors for people, calling, donating. All of this work is so vitally important to creating a society that we want to live in and that we want to pass on to future generations. I guess, starting, really quick, I'll go through, I'm running for mayor in Cleveland Heights because I want to make change. This is the first election that we are ever going to have in Cleveland Heights, and we have to do it right. So I've got the values. Cleveland Heights values are pretty progressive, and my values are right in line with Cleveland Heights values. And my experience is virtually tailor-made for this particular opportunity. I've worked in government for the last 10 years in local government, building a 21st century government from the ground up. And next year, we're going to have to do a lot of transition work. My experience in that realm will come in handy in Cleveland Heights as we navigate these problems. And the work that I do in economic development is also something that we're going to have to pay close attention to in Cleveland Heights, and not just for the reasons you think. Of course, we have to provide resources and create a system where our home-based businesses can grow into our storefronts, and our storefronts can be supported by our city, and we can invite and entice businesses to locate here and for people to get good jobs in our city. But we also have to be really cognizant and aware and sort of be wary that we're not giving away the store. Public support for businesses, it's supposed to be when public support is needed to enhance the community. It's not just for the developers. It's not just for the business owners. Public support is for the community. And when we can work with a developer to enhance the value and the benefit to the community, that's when we do it. But you have to know your stuff. You have to know enough about it to know the difference between just giving a developer everything they want and actually doing a good deal that works for the community. And that's the kind of experience that I have. That's the kind of experience that I want to bring to the decision-making administrative function of Cleveland Heights. And I appreciate your support, and I'm so happy to be an Our Revolution endorsed candidate. Thank you again. I guess, I'm on a roll here. I've just been at a forum, so I'm probably talking way too long. So thank you, and I'll cut myself off.
Thank you so much, Kahlil. It's great to have you here. And, as someone who lives not too far from Cleveland Heights, I will say the economic development there is fantastic, that there especially are not very many chain places, but Cleveland Heights still manages to be one of the better places in and around Cleveland to be.
Thank you.
So next up on our guest list is going to be Renae Bolton. Renae is running for City Council in Garfield Heights, Ward 8. Renae started attending city council meetings and actually began to question exactly what was happening and how little transparency the Garfield Heights and local government gives. So with that, she decided to take her activism of attending meetings and transform it into actual work. So with that, Renae, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I just want to start off by saying I so appreciate the endorsement from Our Revolution. It has meant the world to me. A mom of 6 who has previously just spent time in the school systems, focusing on the education in Garfield Heights, and to all of a sudden find myself in this position where I am very concerned with what's happening in our local government. And so to step out on this platform and have an organization like Our Revolution back me feels like the validation that just makes the difference between keep going, give up. And so, like many people have already mentioned, now that the campaigns have really heated up, there is a lot of contention. There's so much negativity being slown around by just about everyone. And it's really sad because no one's really focusing on why you should vote for them. Everyone's really focusing on why you should not vote for someone else. And so my whole platform turned from all of these things that we really need to talk about with regard to our government to focusing on why you should vote for me. So, I'm telling people constantly that we need change in Garfield Heights. We need people who are in our local government that reflect the people they're supposed to be there to serve. And currently, it does not look like our community. Our local city council is made up of all men, and that's just a ridiculous notion in this day and age, especially considering the makeup of Garfield Heights, which is almost half and half, male and female. So to have our local government have no female representation, that's a huge problem. You are not serving the community if you can't even relate to the community. So that's part of it. And then we have so much going on with regard to safety in our community. We need to change the way we're doing things. When we look out in the news and we see all of these horrible situations of what seems to be unnecessary police action against people of color, it's heartbreaking. And to have that come into your own community, it's even worse. And so I just feel that we really need to change how we're doing things. I've already started talking to our police chief just about community policing, because it has been proven that community policing cuts down on the amounts of unnecessary arrests, escalation of violence. There's just so much good that can be done with community policing, where the residents of our city will get to know the police officers who are their community officers, and the officers will get to know the residents and their families. So instead of just arresting Johnny because he's over there doing some kind of mischief that kids do, it will be more about, do you need me to call your mother? Because I know your mother. And then we've jumped over a huge hurdle of, let's just put them in jail. We're going straight to strengthen the family. And that's really what I want to focus on. So, I have been out here knocking on doors and making phone calls. But one of the big things that, I hope everyone understands is that no one can get elected alone. You cannot get elected alone. And so I am constantly asking people, help me, help all of us who are trying to make our communities better, because I recognize that not everyone is going to want to go and sit in on a city council meeting. Everyone's not going to want to sit on the Board of Education meeting.
Renae, Thank you so much. We are running short of time.
Okay.
And I would love to keep hearing you speak, but we've only got 5 minutes left. So I want to say, though, tomorrow night, we are making calls to Garfield Heights. And so please, Kathleen, if you can drop that link in the chat, and let's help Renae get elected. Thank you so much for being here this evening. We appreciate it. And so our next guest is Laura Rodriguez-Carbone, and Laura is running for Lakewood City Council at large, and she also has some good news for us. So Laura, you've got the floor here.
Thank you very much, Diane, and thank you for thank you everybody for being here tonight and for hosting this call. On August 14th, I was actually in a statewide election elected chair of the Ohio Democratic Party's Hispanic Latino Democratic Caucus. It is a huge victory for the progressive movement in the Latino community. I'm looking forward to serving my community in this way and making sure that the policies that are pushed forward from our state party actually reflect the needs of working families in our state. So, I'm very honored to have been elected by my peers, and I'm just looking forward to the work ahead. As Diane said, I'm running for Lakewood City Council. I'm grateful for all the progressive candidates we heard from tonight. And I know that the more we are able to work together, the more we can do across Ohio to help more working families. And as part of the federal COVID response effort, as chair of Lakewood's anti-racism task force, I know how much work is ahead of us to make Lakewood healthier and more inclusive. And I'm running to rebuild our local public health infrastructure to prioritize the support of our small businesses, particularly those owned by people of color, to ensure we have affordable housing for seniors, people of all abilities, and those from communities like mine. With so much work ahead to rebuild and secure our future, I know it will take more of us working together, even when we sometimes compete. So this is why I also support my friend Tristan Rader, who has been an effective progressive council person for Lakewood and someone I hope to join on city council so we can work together to do even more for the people who need it most. Again, thank you all again to all who are running and, for all of you tonight who are working to support our campaigns. I invite you to visit my website, lauraforlakewood.com, if you'd like to volunteer, contribute, or just learn about me and my candidacy for Lakewood City Council. And I'm going to throw it back to you guys because I know we're running short.
Thank you so much, Laura. It's great to have you with us, and it's exciting to hear that Lakewood might be truly have progressive representation. And speaking of progressive representation, next up we have Daniel Ortiz. Daniel is running for Toledo City Council. As a healthcare professional, Daniel understands the need for Medicare for all, but also the importance of strong local health policies. And so with that, Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself to our folks and give them a pitch for why to vote and support you?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I can't believe that I'm going last here after all of these amazing people. But so my name's Daniel Ortiz, and I'm a pharmacy technician. I have never done anything involved in politics before. I've never even volunteered for a campaign. I've always, tried to pay very close attention and know what's going on in all levels of government. But this is my first time actually, getting hands-on. So last year, I worked as a precinct election official, and after that experience, working during the November general election, I really thought I needed to do something to get more involved. And I also was thinking about how we need more people to run for office, straight up, no matter where you come from, no matter what office it is, from school board, county commissioner, state senate, state house, all that stuff. We just need more people to run for office. And I kept thinking about that, and I thought, well, if that's what I think, then I should just do it and try to lead by example. And I really wanted to prove that, there's nothing inherently special about me. I don't have any special skills that really translate to doing this. I don't think. I just, I care. I care about Toledo, and I care about making it a better place for everyone in our city. I love Toledo, and I always try to stick up for Toledo when people talk bad about it. I try to get my friends that have moved off to the coast to move back. And, when I talk about how much I love Toledo, I know that there's a little privilege in there because there's zip codes in this city that are completely forgotten and overlooked. And I know that not everyone has had the same positive experience that I've had. So, I want to change that, and I want to make it a city that everyone can be proud of. So coming from absolutely no experience in this, not having any connections whatsoever, I'm truly none, like not knowing anyone who's like in power. It's been awesome. When you tell your friends and family that you're going to run for office, everyone just says like, how can I help? And you get rolling and you get that positive feedback and everything. And it keeps you moving. I don't have to tell the candidates here, when you knock doors, it fucking rules. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but I just did, because you go and you knock someone's door and you make that connection, and it keeps you going. Because sometimes like doing this campaign thing can get you down, and it's a long grind. But then, I wrote an essay for The Blade about why it's so important that we pay more attention to local politics and that we get involved in our democracy. And the morning that it ran, I was out knocking doors. And I knocked on this door, and a husband and wife answered, and I started to talk. And before I could even get into my spiel, they were like, "Oh yeah, we just read your essay in The Blade this morning. You have our support. Like, we're voting for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, can I just come put a sign in your yard then?" And they said yes. So, that keeps you moving, that keeps you rolling. So it's been awesome. I never would have imagined the level of support I'm getting from, obviously, our revolution, Roadmap for Progress, the local DSA chapter endorsed me. I have people that are on city council that are endorsed Democrats that secretly tell me they're voting for me because they're not allowed to say it publicly. It's been a lot of fun, but there's a lot of hard work to close out these last 2 weeks. So I just dropped all this info in the chat, but if you're not able to view the chat, please follow me on social media. Even if you're not in Toledo, just help me grow that audience. It's at Ortiz for Toledo, ORTIZFOR Toledo on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then OrtizForToledo.com. There's links there to donate and to sign up to volunteer. And the next 2 Saturdays and Sundays, I'll be doing community canvassing. So if you're in Toledo, or if you want to make a little trip over to Toledo, keep an eye on my social media pages, and I'll have information on those, and you can come join us. And I know all the best spots to go out to eat in Toledo. So after we're done canvassing, we'll get a good meal. So thanks everyone for coming. Thanks Our Revolution for having me and for your support, and run for office. I don't care who you are, run for office.
Thank you so much, Daniel. You're tempting me with the food. Of course, there is that big debate about the Cincinnati chili and all that too. The Skyline, I think it's called. Anyhow, this has been absolutely inspirational. Tonight, I myself learned so much more about candidates, and I really appreciate all that you do. I know from experience that it's not easy work. I know you've given so much of yourselves. You put yourselves out there. It's hard, but it's also encouraging too. And you're doing so much for the community just by running for office. So thank you, all of you. And I would encourage everybody who's on this call tonight to help. Pick up the phone, get out, knock on doors, donate. We can do this together, and that's what it takes. Just like this past weekend when we had that Justice for All rally, that coalition building, that power building, that strength that you're giving us and we're giving you and the people are giving everybody. We can do this together. So I want to say thank you. I've dropped some of the links in the chat for the canvases, the phone banks. I know Kathleen's dropping them. And again, if you can support us, $5 a month, it'll go a long way. And have a good evening, everyone. Thank you to all of our team that helped put this together. And we'll be seeing you. Hopefully we'll be seeing you on the doors and on the phone. So have a good evening. Thank you again, everybody.